So, here we go. Number 55, the Darkness Light Godcast. Welcome back if you're joining me. And this one, I missed a week last week, and this one is called the disconnection. And it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. As always, with everything that I'm doing here, I'm reporting where I'm at, and I'm documenting what I'm doing with this work, and that involves, the upside, which is most of the time, but also the downside as well. The ebbing and the flowing of this journey, this intentional journey that I'm on, and the work that I'm doing, and with all the work that I'm doing. What I'm really doing is I'm talking about where I'm at and how it's unfolding for me. That's all you can really do. That's all I can do, I believe. Otherwise, what else you could copy other people's stuff, or you could, which always felt like I could never ever do that. It felt like too much hard work. And when I started this journey, especially the social media stuff, my intention was to be truthful, and speak my truth. But to document where I was and just let people see what it was all about, both sides of it, absolutely. And for most of the time, it's fantastic. This is why I'm finding this phase, this last couple of weeks have been nothing short of horrific, if I'm being honest. It's been really, really challenging in so many different ways. And the disconnection that I've experienced came at a time where I least expected it. I was absolutely flying in so many different ways. I felt incredible in every way. And the most important way is that the spiritual side of the journey was the best that it's been in probably the last 10 years since the vortex opened, since I took the decision to stop really tending to myself and doing it for myself, but then to kind of try and pass it on. So the timing of it was really, really interesting, off the back of just massive expansion, loads of kind of personal growth, loads of growth within the program, loads of the group meditations, and the experience that are coming back, not just from myself but from people that run about this work. It's been fantastic. It's been an incredible year. So the timing of it has really kind of hit me for six, and the intention with this today is to document and talk about it. What it's like to be off it. When I talk about being on it, that would be like being in alignment, being in that flow state, you're inspired and you're feeling good and you're happy and you're joyful, and which is what it's all about, isn't it? That's what we want to be all the time. That's how this life experience, it'd be great if it was like that all the time, but unfortunately, because we're in this human form, number one, it's not meant to be like that, but number two, absolutely it is not like that. And definitely for me, it's not like that. I think people get, there's a misconception. I think as well when you teach it, Jim Rohn used to say, like, it's a lot easier to teach than it is to live, and he was talking about the personal development stuff and the business stuff, and especially the spiritual stuff, which is where most of us is just now. There's obviously a part of the personal development and the personal well-being side of stuff, but the spiritual development is where everything goes, and that's where when you've experienced the highs, as I have, and very recently I've experienced highs that I've probably never really had before, through the meditations and through the work I've been doing like all this year. So this is like me and getting into my 8th month. I've just been like full God, as I call it, being on it all the time. Just really interesting, the timing of it, how the wheels come off royally, and the last couple of weeks have been very, very challenging. So it's important to talk about both sides. It's almost like it's not a disclaimer, but I think it's important to be authentic and to keep it real. Obviously, that's all I can really do at this point. Is anybody that knows this work and knows me, I'm all just trying to speak my truth. Always, and some of the times, which I have done in the past, when you're off it, then people learn more, and I certainly am learning a lot about myself just now. Sometimes when you get into that kind of well-being flow state where everything just becomes very, very easy, almost too easy. And a long, long time ago, probably going back 12, 13 years, I remember having a period of it was between 7 and 9 months, where I had experienced what I perceived to be enlightenment, where I got it, I really got it, all the years, 18 years of trying to get it, and I eventually got it. And for about 7, 8, 9 months, I was in this state of just bliss, like real kind of elevated states of consciousness, just like up all the time. Saw the good in everything, was really connected to the field, really connected to source. My meditations were incredible. But after a while, it became really boring. It became very dull. There was no contrast. There was no kind of two sides to it, which is what this human experience is all about. It's not just meant to be, love, light, rainbows and unicorns. That's when you die. When you get into spirit, when you get back to the field, then I believe I know that's what that's all about. But for whatever reason, we've signed off this human experience, and it's not supposed to be like that. And I think with this work on this journey, especially for those that have been drawn towards it as part of they're here for their healing, they're looking for answers, looking for relief, then there's definitely different phases to it. And from walking in off the street, and I saw it again, I experienced it again last Friday night. We were in at the yoga barn again, thanks to those who came. It was an incredible night. And I was like a bag of spanners. I was not in the best of places physically, which is really challenging when you're not feeling good physically, especially when you're everything you do is geared towards well-being on every level. But when you come off it and you're not feeling good, then to do anything, it becomes very challenging. For me, I don't really, if I'm not feeling it, I don't do it. I've always used that guidance system of, when you're in it and you're flying, then it's easy. And Abraham Hicks, a long time ago, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. I love that. It's something I've used certainly this last kind of 10, 12 years, this last part of the journey. If something doesn't feel 100%, then you don't do it. So to then kind of force myself, because we'd sold out on Friday night, and to go and do that session. And it was interesting watching myself go through how bad I felt, and how normally, even the adrenaline, of all the thousands of times that I've spoken now, the adrenaline will kick in at some point. And you do get those kind of stress hormones that definitely help you, especially if you're not quite feeling it. And it was interesting watching how the night unfolded and what came through. As always, the way that it comes through is different every single time. And it was an incredible night. It was, and just watching and hearing from people. Loads of people had been there before. There was quite a few that hadn't been there before, and it was interesting watching what people got from it, especially the newbies that came in, and went through the kind of sort of reset and reconnect that first session. The theme is called reconnection, and it's interesting to see people what they tell you after it in terms of what they got from it and the stuff that was coming up during the breathwork and the meditation, and again it's nice to hear that now and again. It is to remember the power that's in the work and what it does for people. You can forget sometimes. Especially somebody new that's coming into it and going through it for the first time, you forget how life-changing that one experience can be, that reconnection process back to how you're meant to feel, back into your heart, back into your soul. It's very, very powerful. But for me, as struggling as I was, it was hugely challenging. No mistake. But when the work started to come through, when the inspiration started to come through, it was amazing how the physical stuff was left behind. I had a cough during it. I've been coughing up for the last 2 weeks. It's been absolutely disgusting. It's been horrible. But during it, when I was trying to speak and take people through the breathing, it was amazing watching the physical battle, and then almost like the spiritual information and inspiration coming through at the same time. It was like Jim was very much kicked to the side, and at the same time I was trying to deal with the physical symptoms, even trying to speak at some points, because I was basically my chest and I was basically bunged up. I was coughing up. But at the same time, the spiritual energy that was coming through and the inspiration that was coming through, which absolutely trumped everything that was going on, and we got there in the end. So this started nearly 2 weeks ago, and it came on the back of anybody that's been on about me, or even when I've been talking about it on here. There was one particular experience that happened to me. It's happened a few times since, but the last time it happened, previous to nearly 2 weeks ago, was before the centre opened, so that'll be back probably 2014, 2015, where I had this, I would say, I call it the enlightened experience, this it was like an event. It was a life-changing event. This event that took place during meditation, it's something I'd been chasing for a long time, something I'd read about in the books, and something I'd heard like different advanced teachers, yogis talking about it. And I was, absolutely chasing it, because I was getting close to it over many, many years. This is over a long period of time, over probably the last 10 years of that part of the journey, where I was, really devoted, to experiencing the divine. I'd been up every day for 18 years at that point, every single morning, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, sitting for 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes in meditation, 7 days a week, never missed a single day. Same at night time as well. Most of the times I was sitting at night and I'd be devotional with my practices, the stuff I was reading, the stuff I was listening to, the different meditations I was doing. It was all with the intention to experience enlightenment. That quote, the Buddha, that I heard from the Buddha, that once you hear the word enlightenment, nothing else will ever do. That was way back, right at the very start of my journey. So my intention was to become enlightened, to experience enlightenment. And enlightenment, for those that don't know, enlightenment just means the direct experience of the divinity that's inside of you. Nothing fancy, and it's nothing to do with religion. It's nothing about... it's an experience. It's a direct experience, and what happens is you have a massive shift in consciousness. You have a massive shift in your own awareness. You see everything differently. The quantum shift that takes place in terms of how you perceive the world and what you perceive the world to be, and even what you perceive yourself to be, and the lessons and the way that life unfolds after it has been ongoing to this day. And it's a type of experience. It happened 2 or 3 times in a kind of short period of time, and then it never happened for the longest time. And then the reconnection meditations that I've been doing for the month of July, again, the timing of how this came about was fascinating. I was on day 18, which is my favourite number, that one infinite power. Day 18, and I'm in meditation, and it was getting stronger and stronger, and I felt as if I was on the kind of cusp of something like really profound, like as if there was something going to happen, as if there was another shift going to take place. That's been the last nearly 8 months now, where I've been on this full time, did away with the caffeine. Not that I was drinking it was like black tea, but even I've had 1 cup of black tea since January time. And meditations have been live twice a day, almost every single day, unless I've been away somewhere or working or whatever. But it's been early in the morning time with the programme members, and then it's been night time as well with the programme members. There's a thing called a 9 o'clock prayer through the Saj Marg system, which is really seeing your brothers and your sisters, seeing their spiritual path and seeing the divinity unfolding for them, and seeing them connecting to source, and it's a really powerful prayer. And on the back of my connection with the master of the system, Babaji, who I've spoken about on here before, that's all been happening this year. It's been really kind of, now that I'm coming to think about it, there's been a lot going on spiritually for myself. I've been very much tending to myself, but at the same time I've been probably serving more than I've ever served before, in terms of the way the meditation comes through. When I tap into that divine master and the transmission comes through me, intention for me is to be a bridge, and to bring it into the people that are tapping in on the live meditations, whether it's here at the Vortex, whether it's in a group like Friday night at the Yoga Barn, or whether it's online. It doesn't really matter. We're all connected in the field, and especially with the programme members, the ones that are run about this all the time. When you're run about that kind of twice a day, every single day, and then you add in the classes as well, like Boys Club and the different satsangs we've had, it becomes really, really powerful. And it's absolutely real in terms of what's experienced, not just for myself, but the other people that run about it. You can tell the transmission, the way that it comes through. It's otherworldly, would be the best way to describe it. Excuse me a wee second. So, felt as if I was on the cusp of something. I could tell there was something about to happen. I've been feeling really unsettled for the longest time, probably most of this year, like as if I'm ready for a change, as if I'm ready to almost like move on and do something else, and which would probably involve, in fact, absolutely would involve getting rid of this place, getting rid of the Vortex, getting rid of our home, like selling everything up, and then taking this to, and I don't know what that is. I don't know how it looks. I don't know even know what it feels like. The last wee bit, I've spoke a lot on here as well about the will of God and surrendering to God and just letting go. And since I've been tuning in to particularly the meditations with Babaji, the way that it's been coming through me, I've been very much just letting go and not really trying at all anymore. Up until just before that, the real desire and me trying to get it out there and being inspired by this work and the desire to help people. That's what it's always been about, is to help as many people as I can reconnect back to this natural way of living, back to the divine, back to God, learning what meditation is, learning how to manage your nervous system, learning how to feel better, how to sleep better, how to deal with mental health. My journey, it's really, for the last 10 years since this place opened, it's been about passing that on. But this last wee while, probably the last 3 months in particular, I've really stopped all of that. And the will of God is something that's been I've been very much tuning into in terms of, right, okay, no matter what it is that I want, and this is where it becomes tricky, because the human ego always thinks that it knows better, and you've always got the ideas and you've always got the inspiration, certainly I have anyway over the years, in terms of, right, what else can I do, whether it's a new class or a new programme, or even the poetry that comes through every single day, the stuff that I'm putting out with intentions to leave breadcrumbs so that people can maybe have an interest in it and then get drawn towards it, and then before you know it, we get them in and teach them to breathe, and then we teach them to meditate, and then before you know it, they're sitting in their heart and in their soul, and then they know who they are and they're reconnected back to the light of the divine. That's how we fix the world. That's been my plan all along, but that's been really, really difficult for me, if I'm being honest. It's been such a hard road, and it's taken so much out of me. And this might be, I've got a real kind of feeling at this part that I'm at now. It's number one, the age that I'm at and the stage that I'm at in life. 53 now, where things are absolutely changing in so many different ways on all levels. But the transition that I'm making in terms of the life force and the drive to try and make it happen and to try and give it to people, there's been a real realisation recently that doesn't work. I've known forever that it doesn't work. You can't get to anybody, but it's almost to the point that I've stopped trying to give it to people. In fact, I'm no longer at all trying to get to people. And this is all stuff that I know, but it's very, very difficult, especially when you can see somebody that's suffering or struggling and you've got compassion and you want to help everybody. Then the desire to step in there and perhaps offer something that you know is going to help, but again, it doesn't seem to work. So there's been very much a kind of a stepping back kind of bit for me, and allowing it to come through me, the will of God, handing it over to God, handing it over to Babaji, my teacher, handing it over to that system of Saj Marg, there to do the work, there to help any way that I can, but at the same time, very aware of the bit that I was bringing to it, which was hard work. God knows it's been hard work over especially the last year and a half with the programme, and everything that we've done with the programme over the last year and a half. Everything to do with that has been really, really interesting in terms of how it came about and how it came into my life, and how much I've put into it over the last couple of years since we started putting it together. And then, you sit and you go, right, okay, we're at a place now with the programme. It's never going to be finished because there's new information all the time and it's always expanding and evolving. But the lessons in there, the fundamental practices and the tools and the techniques, they're not really going to change much. And taking stock of how it's done and who it's helped and how it's helped. I'll be honest, I thought it'd be a lot further on than it is just now, in terms of the numbers, in terms of the people that I hope to have been attracted to it. But at the same time, you need to understand where the world is and where people are, and the stuff that I'm talking about in terms of spirituality and what's involved in this work. It's obviously not for everybody. It really isn't. In fact, it's for hardly anybody, if you're being completely honest. Giving up the ego and giving up your ways of doing things and switching over to a spiritual way of living and taking responsibility for your life and taking ownership of every single thing that comes your way, and the realisation of the power that's inside of you, and then living from that place. That isn't easy, and it's for hardly anybody, if I'm honest. And one of the things I've been very aware of, the inner circle of the programme members that are on about it. Every single one of them, to a man and a woman, they're here for a reason. They've been through, almost all of them, they've been through certain things in their life, and they come to a certain point where they realise of the work that needs to get done, and that's what the challenge with this stuff. It takes work. I'm not a life coach, and it's like when you tell your story once, that's it, you're done and dusted. Then at that point, it's all about the solutions and all about the focusing on the light and doing whatever it takes to make yourself feel good, and realising you can't take that to anybody and expect them to fix it for you. That's something I've been very much going through the last couple of weeks. When you realise that it's me, it needs to be me that's going to get myself through this. I don't really have anybody that I can turn to in terms of a teacher. God is my teacher. Meditation and getting quiet, that's where I get all of this information and inspiration, so there's a couple of people that I use as sounding boards, and I would maybe take their take on certain things, but when it gets to this level, as disconnected as I am just now, at that point, then you really need to look at self-reliance and dust yourself down and keep moving forward, and know that you're the only person that's going to be able to work it out for you. And that's difficult. That can be really challenging. On so many different levels, so it's the timing's fascinating. The way that it came through, the way that I was feeling, the way that I kind of felt change was. I've been talking about me verbalising it to the inner circle. I can feel like I was going to get an itchy feet, as if like something else was going to have to happen, as if I was ready for something else. And then, be careful what you ask for, because this has been a nightmare. But 2 weeks ago, during the reconnection meditation, day 18, and it was just one of the nights where, as many hundreds of thousands of hours as I've spent in meditation, and it has been hundreds of thousands of hours over the last 26, 27 years, you become acutely aware of different things that happen and different experiences you get during it. I can go there inside seconds now, no matter where I am, whether I'm sitting at the traffic lights or whether I'm sitting at, it was 3:30 this morning it started, and I'm sitting and I can switch my mind off instantly, so I'm not thinking, and I'm in my feelings, and I'm back into my heart, and I'm back into that sacred space, back into the field. The intention to reconnect with the divine, to reconnect to my teachers, whether it's Babaji, my mum, the ascended masters, whether it's angels, archangels, it depends. These are all different terms and names that we give for these different life forces. Christ consciousness is another one. Mother Mary is another one. Really interesting beings that have been on about me for a long time. And when I'm in meditation, I can feel. It normally goes in a kind of specific way, but there's 2 or 3 things when I had that enlightened experience. There's 2 or 3 things that happen, and they happen to you. You don't go and get them. You can't make them happen. You can't go and, right, today I'm going to get it. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to experience like that. There's the 2 specific things that happen, because if you could do that, then you would never see me. I would be gone forever. You would basically disappear, and you would be in that place forever. But I think it was a Thursday night, the 18th, and the reconnections were going great. They were busy enough. There was the same people coming in most nights. There was a load of programme members between, probably half a dozen and probably 20 plus we had in. Somewhere in the averages of that most nights, 10, 12 probably averaging most nights. It was fantastic. I was loving it. What I was getting from it was incredible. The meditations it was more turning into the meditation. So instead of doing the breath work and extending the breath work, it was getting more and more towards, when people go on about it and they get over it, especially when it's every single day, then eventually it's like we go through the breath work, but you know how it goes together, and at that point it's like, right, connect into your heart, elevate your feelings, open up your heart, honour your worthiness to receive, then you're in the field. When you've done it every single night for the past 18 nights, as most people had, a lot of them had, then it's really quite, it's daft to keep going over it in the same depth. I don't feel as if you're getting the same, you don't need to go through the same processes, so it happens a lot quicker. But that night, on the Thursday night, I believe it was, then everything changed, because normally it would be a 45-minute to an hour session, and really kind of get into this state in this space where I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't leave it, which was absolutely wonderful. It felt like it feels like coming home. It feels like a feeling of certainty, a feeling of like a knowing of the goodness you're surrounded by, like being connected to the field. It's almost like validation that you know that God is real, and you're connected to it, and he, she, whatever you want to call it, it has got you, and you're very much become in union with it. And that night in particular, I couldn't leave it, so I ended up doing, I think it was about an hour, almost 2 hours meditation, maybe an hour and a half to nearly 2 hours meditation live on Zoom. And nobody left. It was fascinating, the depth in terms of, and it's different from me when I'm doing the online stuff as well, because I'm always at a kind of just under surface level where you're aware of the music and you're aware of, like, obviously the live recording that's going out. But at this one in particular, I was gone. I was completely gone, and I'd handed it over, and I was in that space of like divine bliss and union with the divine and God and everything that means. And the power that was in the group, I could feel the people that were in the group were getting a lot very similar to what I was getting. And came out the meditation, finished the meditation, was incredible, and really felt a massive shift. And then it continued the next morning. I went to bed really late that night. I was probably in bed 11:30, 12, which is middle of the night for me. And by 3 o'clock in the morning, I was back up, and I was full of beans. I was basically like inspired. I couldn't wait to get up and go and sit in meditation, and I felt incredible. I felt really connected. I felt really at peace. I had when I sat down into meditation inside, a couple of minutes, I could tell that there was a shift on, and the awareness to be in those situations, and having the awareness to know when it's coming through, because for years and years and years I chased this experience, and it would almost start to unfold, and the ego would go and then try and get it, and every single time that I tried to get it with the ego, I would lose it, and I would lose it for years sometimes, and it would never come back. So it took me a long time to be in the presence of this experience unfolding, and realising the steps that I had to do to allow it to basically to do what it had to do to me. It couldn't be a case of I'm going to get this, I'm going to expand, and it's going to be amazing, and then you're already thinking about how you're going to share it, and with the best intentions to pass it on to people. Of course I want everybody to get that, of course I do. So I had to learn not to do that. And then sitting that very next morning, something really, I forgot about this until the other day. The music that was playing when I go on in the morning times now, I hold space. The inspiration and the transmission comes through me from Babaji or from the field, and I basically hold space for the program members. That's every single morning. I had been every single morning for the previous probably 5 or 6 months. And the music goes on, so that's when people are posting in the group to say that I'm going to be going in. I put the music on, and then when the music comes through, that's me then transmission. It's coming through me as a preceptor for this divine transmission that's going to come into the group. And at the same time, I'm getting so many benefits in so many different ways, so I'm getting taken care of as well. I'm tapping into the field, and Jim disappears. It's no work, it's absolutely beautiful. It's an absolute honour and a blessing to be able to do it. And this came after a long time, the last 25 years of our own spiritual practices, to be able to do it. And the way that it found me this year has been, after being there forever, but really kind of realisation of what it was this year. And then the validation of what other people are getting as well, and the direct experiences of it. So it's very, very powerful, and something I'm absolutely blessed. And there's no hardship on me. It doesn't take anything away from me. It doesn't take anything out of me. I gain from it in so many different ways. But this particular morning, I was sitting, and I could feel it was ready to start happening. And one of the thoughts that I had, the conscious thought that I had, was the music that was playing in Zoom. A lot of the times when I know it's going to be a 2-3 hour session, I'll just put it on a loop. So I've got certain playlists that I play, and I play it in a loop, and I'll just, so when it gets to the start, I don't need to come out of the meditation and keep it going. I need to just, it basically keeps playing itself. And the song I was on was really annoying me, and I had the thought instantly. Now this is the first time this has ever happened, and it was fascinating at the time how it happened, especially how I was feeling. I could feel that it was an extension of the night before, but the song I was playing was annoying me a wee bit, and I had the thought of, when I get into this, is the music going to, because I could feel it was going to happen, is the music going to affect me negatively? And there's a great quote that I picked up right at the very beginning, and what it says is that God's one and only voice is silence. And I had the thought, sitting listening to this song that was annoying me a wee bit, wouldn't it be great to be sitting in silence? And I swear to God, in my kid's life, within the next 10-15 seconds, my computer basically switched itself off, died, the battery died. It was plugged in, but the battery died on it, and it turned itself off. And it kind of brought me out of it, and I'm looking at it, and basically there's nothing happening. So the computer's down. I realised very quickly, whether it was divine intervention or just a stroke of good luck, again, be careful what you ask for. I was seeking the silence because I felt it was going to come through. That has never happened since or before that. I've over the thousands of times online, it's never once my computer, when it's plugged in, is basically the battery died and it switches itself off. It was fascinating. So that was me. I had the space, I had the silence. It was the middle of the night, it was completely quiet. Where I am, the vortex, the road, when it gets to 4:30, 5 in the morning, sometimes you can hear the lorries going by. It's a main road, it's a busy road. But this morning in particular, I was up early enough. It was between 3 and 4:30, 5. It's normally fairly quiet. After 5:30, 6, it kind of starts to pick up a wee bit. And I just knew then it was on. And for the next 4 hours, I had that experience again. It came in, and it's very difficult to explain it. It's something that, again, you can't make it happen. There's two very distinct things that feel like happen. On that first occasion, what it felt like was you become everything. You become, like, you experience universal consciousness. I've said in the past, you become the tree and the blade of grass and the pigeon and the clouds, and you experience a level of awareness that really goes, you're connected to everything as far as you can possibly imagine. So to the ends of the universes and beyond them, you feel as if you can feel and you can experience everything that's going on all at the one time. It's very difficult to explain. It doesn't make sense in human words. I get that, but that's what happened. That's what it felt like. That's what came in. again. And this time it was very different from the previous times that it happened. It's happened probably half a dozen times before, and there's definite stages that allow it to unfold. This time it felt very, very different. This time it felt like almost like I was in the field. You become the field of consciousness. You become, the divine mind. You become union with God. That's the best way to describe it. The first time it happened, it felt like unconditional love. It felt like a vibration and a frequency I'd never experienced before. It fixed every single thing within me. The massive shift that I took from where I was at the time, this shift in consciousness, and where you become something greater than the lower self. The ego gets left behind. To even think the possibility of there being a gym is ridiculous. Gym disappears, and you really get to experience it from a oneness perspective. So you become the field. It's like becoming the divine. It's like becoming God. That's what it feels like. And the realization that divinity is inside of you, and that separation is absolutely an illusion, which is something I've known for the longest time. And that's what they talk about. That's what the great saints, and I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, Jesus Christ. As above, so below. The kingdom of God is within you. It's all that kind of stuff. When I come back from the first time, I saw through every single one of the quotes, and I got them, and I understood them literally because I'd experienced it. Life changing. It was absolutely incredible. This time around, it felt very different. This time around, there was very much almost like the grossness of like me, the physical human self, and being exposed to this level of consciousness. There's a part within the Sajmark system, they talk about cleaning, and cleaning is the removal of the Indian word would be samskaras, which would be like almost impressions or imprints or experiences you've been through in the journey of your soul that you carry with you on this eternal journey that we go on long after Jim's gone. The bit that's inside of me, the essence of what I am and everything that I've done in this life and all my previous lifetimes and incarnations, whatever that has been, which I don't know any of that stuff, but there's a real knowing of the journey of the soul and how it's eternal. I've spoke about that before on here, how when my mum died, my hand was on her heart, it was on her soul, and I could feel that when she passed, the moment she passed, I could still feel her spirit within the room. Again, meditation, I can feel my mum sitting beside me, but I knew that the body was done and dusted. The body became like an empty suitcase, and then the knowledge, that the real, the direct experience of the journey of the soul is eternal, and this experience for me, it felt very much like Jim, the lower self, the samskaras, the imprints, the impressions that I was carrying, probably the stuff that's been holding me back, and a lot of the stuff you don't even know what it is. They talk a lot about, the yogis talk a lot about when you come into this life, if you've got addiction in this life, if you've got depression or suicidal tendencies, and it's a lot of stuff you're carrying over from previous lives, and you get the opportunity to work through it and transcend it in this lifetime. That's what this work is all about. It's about transcending and saving lifetimes by the spiritual work that you do, by getting stuff up, by making peace with them, by experiencing enlightenment is the way that I've always felt is the best way to do it. When you experience the divinity, then there's a massive shift, and you get to basically, how many lifetimes that saves you, who knows. So this time in particular, what it felt like was all those samskaras and the real grossness, the heaviness, the kind of the humanness, the sadness, the low vibrational stuff, the stuff that holds me back in this lifetime. It felt very much that was getting taken away and diluted out of the entire me-ness, if you like. So the entire being that is Jim, the whole being, the spiritual being, not just the physical self, the essence of my soul. It felt like a lot of that stuff was getting removed from me. It felt like a lot of that stuff was getting taken out of me. It was getting cleaned, in effect, during this meditation. It was really, really uncomfortable. It was something that I didn't find pleasant at all. It was very difficult to sit in it. It was almost like going in. It was almost like being awake during an operation. You're going in for like some sort of a life-saving operation. Your liver's getting removed, or you're getting a new liver, or you're getting new lungs or a new heart. And it was almost like, where the anaesthetic hasn't worked, and you get to experience it as you're going through it in real time, and you're very aware of what's going on, and you are partaking in it, so you're almost like giving permission to it, and the way you give permission to it is just by surrendering to it, like handing it over again, that will of God. I was very aware as I was going through it that it was something that had to happen. It was something that it felt like I'd been picked, I'd been chosen, thanks to my master Babaji, thanks to the work I've been doing with him for the last quarter of a century, and especially this year. So it felt like almost like the work that I'd done, especially this year, and how hard I'd been working on myself and the spiritual practices and this work, and the intention to help people and do the will of God and live in the light and be in the truth and offer solutions and answers to those who are suffering and struggling. It felt like almost, but because I'd been doing that, then this was the next step for me, and I was almost being, not that it felt like a reward, maybe it was a reward, that's maybe not what it felt like, maybe that's the wrong word, but it almost felt like I'd done the work and I'd earned the right to, get rid of whatever it is that I was holding on to. I was holding me back, maybe a more specific way of putting it. Stuff I didn't even know was there, because as I said, I was absolutely flying leading up to this. It had never been better, and so for it to come through and to watch this, like the grossness, the heaviness of the human ego and the lower self and all the stuff that was holding me back, to kind of feel that getting like diluted and almost like ripped out my body energetically. It was really, it was very powerful. It was painful in an emotional way, in terms of letting it go and getting out of my body. Even the physical body was very, very challenging, really uncomfortable for the longest time, probably a couple of hours. And I was glad when it was done and dusted. I really was. I was absolutely, I was delighted when it came through me. And it lasted about 4 hours. It probably lasted 4 hours all in. I came to at the end. I was in this state that the very end of it was like sleep, but leading up to that, it was not sleep. I was very conscious. I was aware of every single thing that was going on. And then eventually, when it was done and dusted, when it ran its course with me, and I was wrung out, I'd been rinsed, then I definitely fell asleep, and I woke up probably 8:30, 9 in the morning, and that's when I felt it. That's when I felt the physical ailments within my body. I felt instantly when you've got a chest infection, as I have had. I was sick my whole life. I mean, from the age of probably 13 was when it started for me with the vaccine damage. Up until the age of 45, I was sick all the time. I'd always had chest infections, always had viruses, pneumonia, flus, colds in my chest. Suffered with my respiratory system in terms of being able to breathe properly. And there's a kind of metally taste when you've got a chest infection. And I grew up with antibiotics as well for the longest time. The minute I was in rung wells, I was on antibiotics at least twice a year, every single year, which is probably the reason my immune system is so compromised as well. But I'm very aware of what it feels like, when you start to have these, especially the upper respiratory and kind of chest infections coming on. And it felt like that instantly. As soon as I came out to meditation and I came to, the heaviness that I felt was horrible. It was really kind of this real kind of over, like a burden of weight that had been lifted out of you, but at the same time it was still as if it was in transition. That's what it felt like. It was heavy going, literally heavy going, but straight away I could feel my physical body, and I knew instantly, because I'd felt so good, and I hadn't seen anybody, hadn't been with anybody, I hadn't picked up any bugs, hadn't picked up any viruses. The only thing I can possibly think of was, and interestingly enough, my wife was away for the week. She was away on a religious, what do you call it? We went to Lourdes to see, Lourdes, anybody that doesn't know, Lourdes is a place where Mother Mary, so the Catholics claimed it as the Virgin Mary. She appeared to St Bernadette, and there's a place where miracles take place, and the Catholics have basically grabbed it and owned it. And she went away with her mum on a pilgrimage, that's what I'm looking for, over there for the week. So this was the Thursday, and she'd been away since the Monday. And it was really interesting as well, the amount of times that I've got sick in the past when I actually get a chance to stop. And I don't really get that often now because of the intensity of this work and what I'm doing. But that week when she was away, the kids were at work, she was away, it was me and the dog, and I had a real opportunity to take stock and tend to myself, really look after myself that week, and almost like a proper holiday where I didn't need to be anywhere or do anything. And I was getting so into the work. I was doing a lot of writing. I was writing the programme. I was loving every bit of it. But there was something about stopping and how it created the space. Again, when you don't need to put it into anybody else, including the Waynes or my wife or even the dog, it was me. I had a real chance to kind of attend to myself, and that space was what I do believe allowed this transaction and transition and transmission to come through me. And when I came out of the other side, I knew straight away. I was like, oh fuck! And the only thing I could really I possibly considered was I've been sleeping with the window open because it was so warm. And the new viruses, the new bugs that are going about, from the age of 13 to whenever, you know, and when I discovered the cold water exposure and the breath work, I didn't really get sick anymore. For the previous years, I hadn't really been sick. I was training a lot. I was doing a lot of kind of ultra distance running and Ironman, and I've been into karate for a long time, and I didn't really get sick as much anymore. I would always get the occasional stuff. But when I found the cold exposure 2016, and had the breath work and all that kind of good stuff, and at the time my diet was like nigh on like impeccable in terms of I'd been plant-based whole food for probably 5 or 6 years by that point. All the sicknesses had stopped, and then from 2016 up until last year was the first time when I really became sick. Even right through COVID, obviously there was no vaccines, none of that kind of stuff, but when I picked up the everything virus last year for one of the boys in the group, there was 3 or 4 of us were away for one of their birthdays away in the teepee, and I picked up this bug that it was 6 or 7 weeks where I was really, really ill. I call it the everything virus because it hit me in every single system in my body. My respiratory system, my immune system was absolutely obliterated. It felt like I had the flu, it felt like I had a head cold, my bones were sore, I was roasting, I was freezing, I couldn't sleep, I was bunged up. It was like every single ailment that you could possibly get at the one time, which I'd never had before. And the fact that it lasted for 6 or 7 weeks, and I was in bed for weeks. I was probably in bed for 3 weeks, and crawling about for a long time. And since then, my brother's I wouldn't say he's a truther. He's probably the opposite of that. My brother was one of the first people to get the vaccine and believed in modern medicine, all that kind of stuff. And he's been ill quite a bit recently with similar stuff. And he keeps saying that they got me. You know, the powers that be, the governments, whatever they're spraying in the air, whatever's in the sky. And we know this to be true. And when I was lying in bed at night with the window open, that's the only thing I could think of. I wonder if they've been like spraying during the night. And you know, because that's the only way I never hadn't seen anybody, hadn't been with anybody, hadn't picked up from anybody. But the knowing as well that it was very much part of, you know, this cleaning process. And you know, I was getting some sort of elevation or some sort of gift, although it doesn't feel like a gift, even though it still doesn't feel like a gift. But that's what was coming through me. And it manifested in a full-blown virus, very much in my brain this time, you know, so cognitively I was kind of off balance. I felt myself almost going to kind of keel over a couple of times when I was walking up and down the stairs. And chest infection, absolutely. No sweats, none of that kind of. Again, it's really weird how these things seem to be happening. This is probably the third time I've had this in a year now of a similar kind of different but the same. Very metally. In fact, when I was feeling at my lowest, I said to my wife when she phoned from France, it felt almost like radiation poisoning. That's almost where that came from. I don't know, but the metal taste I had in my mouth, you know, the almost like the neuralgia in my bones, you know, my fingers, and just being really, really sore without being sweaty or without being warm, which would be the normal response. Your immune system, the way the immune system responds, there's different ways that it responds to it, but one of the ways is it basically hits you with the kitchen sink, you know, so if it's in your stomach or you'll be sick, you know, if your skin is, you know, cut, you experience a cut or your skin gets broken, then how the immune system works, it'll go to the site and it'll basically protect it. And when you've got some sort of viral in your system, then the normal response would be to overheat, you know, your body basically tries to cook itself, and that's why you sweat. It's that innate response, that immune system responds to try and hit you with the kitchen sink so it can deal with the virus. And there was none of that, you know, which again was really kind of weird. All the experiences I've had over the years of different bugs and different viruses, it's never been like this. And again, feels very man-made. Again, with my experience and the stuff that I've been through, where a very specific virus would come in, I'd feel like my chest needed a week of feeling shit. Whether I get antibiotics when I was a kid or not, it would take a week and then you'd be ready. But this time around, the same as the last couple of times this year, it's been really kind of shitty in terms of it feels dirty. You feel dirty on the inside, and that's where probably the radiation kind of poisoning came from. Though that's a wee bit dramatic, but who knows? You know, who knows what the fuck they're putting into the sky and what they're spraying and what's going into our system. But that's certainly something that it felt like. And the challenge for me is, this is where, you know, when you're physically feeling really bad, as I have been, dizzy, and the head has been an absolute nightmare. You know, it's been really challenging in terms of of just physically feeling bad in my physical body. I don't take pills. I haven't taken pills forever. I haven't been to the doctor since 1996. I don't take any of the medications. I wouldn't take like a painkiller, like codeine or cocodamol, any of that kind of stuff. I would never take anything to basically, I would just want to put it into my body now. That's been 10, 12 years probably since anything like that. I wouldn't do it. I don't go to the doctor. It's amazing the amount of times my dad will say you need to go to the doctor, and that just makes me laugh. What the fuck are they going to do? And leading up to COVID, pre-COVID, there was nothing. And then since this bug last year, when I have been feeling really bad, I said, right, okay, what can you do? And when you're feeling bad, when you're feeling like the physical well-being is really kind of that's a big enough challenge when you don't really feel like doing anything. And there's still stuff needing done. There is. I've tried to. I've laid into it as much as I can, and I've stopped as much as I can. But at the same time, when it becomes almost like too much. I've just seen somebody walking past my window there, somebody passing through. When it becomes almost too much and you can't deal with it and you're struggling to deal with it, it really affects you. It affects you massively negative, especially when you're trying to feel good all the time. You're trying to reach that place of well-being and being buoyant and all the stuff that I do to make myself feel good. The work that goes into that every single day. Then, when that isn't there, especially when the consideration that it could be something that the governments or whoever it is that owns the world is doing to you, that makes it very, very challenging. That makes it very, very difficult. I'm just watching a wee woman walking past the window. I don't know what she's up to. So that was hard enough. The physical stuff was really challenging. This is day number, what's that? It's probably day 11 or 12 now. I've been suffering with this. I've been sleeping for some days 20 hours a day when I've had the chance. I've been going to bed at 8, 9 o'clock at night. I've been sleeping right through to early in the morning time. I've been sleeping during the day, which I have never done. I just don't do that. And the way that I've been basically combating it is by stopping, by letting go, and by doing specific breath work. I've been using the oxygen advantage, generating the nitric oxide, which is the way to combat the viruses in your system. It's quite funny how this got me, and it didn't really get any worse, but it stayed consistent. And the way that I was basically counter fighting against it, basically by doing the breath work, by generating the nitric oxide in my system, then it's quite funny. There's a wee woman that's looking in the window, man. It's hilarious. I don't know what she's after. She can't see in because of the way that the glass is here. She can't see in the window, but I can see her. So the nitric oxide, like doing the breath holes and pinching the nose and generating nitric oxide, doing the humming to multiply the nitric oxide by up to 20 times. That the viral killing properties is going into your system. That's the way I've been fighting against it. Loads of baths, loads of warm baths. Sometimes in the bath. Right at the beginning, my wife was away and I had nowhere to be, I had no work on. I was in the bath 3-4 times a day. That was the only thing that was giving me some kind of relief. Then I'd go for the bath and go straight back into bed and then sleep for another kind of 2, 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes, which I've never done before. And this kind of feels like I'm almost getting a chance to recover for the last 28 years of this journey. I have never stopped in my life. It's always been on it all the time, and it's kind of been a wee bit of a blessing in disguise because I've been forced to stop and I've been forced to kind of take my foot off the gas a wee bit. No pills, no medicines, no doctors, just holistic practices. Loads of garlic, the antiviral properties within garlic, tons of garlic, and at the same time, the juicing and the blending and all that kind of stuff. That helps a wee bit, but there's just something about these bugs just now, and it's certainly the last few that I've had over the last 12 months. That when they get into your system, then you've really just got to grin and bear it and get on with it and do your best. So the physical side has been a nightmare. Losing your physical well-being is really challenging. What the biggest thing that I've probably suffered with, there's been two parts to it. The mental well-being has been an absolute fucking nightmare, I'll be honest with you. I've been really, really down with it. It's been very depressed, I would say, very flat. When I say depressed, I don't mean like I'm going to go and fucking kill myself and all that kind of stuff, but just almost like, what's the fucking point? What's the, like, fuck everything? Like, what's the, what great time to stop. I mean, you're feeling bad, that's the worst time to contemplate or to tune in and see how you're doing. It's a nightmare, and that's something I've been doing very much over the last couple of weeks, is really going in and going, right, okay, where am I? Because this feels like a massive transition for me, this stage that I'm at. What's next? What am I going to do? Because this obviously isn't working the way that I find myself in this place where, and it's just a wee bug, and it's this, but it really feels like I'm transitioning into something else at the minute. And contrast is a great place to be. Pain and suffering Abraham Hicks, God bless the contrast. Contrast shows you what you don't want so you can then go after what you do. That's what it's been like for me. I don't like this where I'm at just now. I can feel there's a massive shift on. I can feel there's a change coming. And when I've had a chance to stop and be no well and go inside and really kind of get all the shit out and go, right, okay, where am I? Like, how is this working for me? How am I doing? Like, how is the work going? How's the programme going? How's my intentions to help people? And how is all that going together? And when you're feeling flat and you're feeling lost and you're feeling uncertainty the way that I have been the last couple of weeks, they're probably not the best questions to be asking, if I'm honest. But you've got all that time when you're lying in bed between sleeps and between baths, and there's nowhere to be and nothing to do except like really kind of a really good look at yourself. And it's fine to see it where it is and to see where you are. I don't think you should ever see it worse than it is, which is easy to do when you're not feeling good, especially when the physical well-being is there, when you're feeling kind of shitty within yourself, you have no energy and all that kind of stuff. But very much, trying to take stock as you're going. That's what I've been doing, and just going, right, what's going on? What am I doing? How's it working? And that's easy to see with the results. You can easily see very, very quickly, how it's going for you. And then off the back of that, when you're big enough and ugly enough to stand and take stock and see how it's going. And then at that point, once you start to come out the other side of it, which absolutely will happen, of course it will, then you get the opportunity to make changes. So the mental well-being stuff has been really hard. That's been, and that's why I do this stuff. A lot of people forget that as well. They don't realise that. That's why I'm qualified to do what I do. I've been there. I've got the t-shirts, suicidal and the depressions and anxiety and all the stuff that I went through in my life, all the stuff that I've transitioned and transcended beyond in my life, the stuff that I've managed to make my way through. That's why I'm qualified to help people. That's why I'm qualified to do what I'm doing. You only get to really teach with experience with this stuff. You don't get it out of a book. That's the challenge with so many fucking therapists and people that basically want to talk about it. There's nothing ever changes. There's nothing happens within that that helps people find relief. And that's all I've been doing with this is transcending things and finding different ways of doing things, so you never need to go back, and you shift your consciousness from the low levels, that stinking thinking and being depressed and being down and feeling shit. Once you tell your story once you realise that it isn't serving you, then you need to do it a different way. It was interesting. It has been interesting for me being back in that place for the first time in a long time, and I've been really kind of struggling mentally. And great, I now have more compassion for other people. Sometimes I've not got blasé about it, but you forget sometimes. You forget what it's like when you've not struggled. It's interesting for me, the people that have never experienced like depression or mental health challenges, how they have no empathy, they have no compassion for anybody, they expect everybody, because they don't know what it feels like. So if you've never been through it, then how can you help somebody with it? And that's been part of my cross to bear, the fact that I've had to go through it. So it's been nice in some ways to go through it a wee bit again and to remember what people are going through, day-to-day stuff. And it's certainly given me more fuel for my fire when I come out the other side of this, in terms of how I'm going to be helping, in different ways and finding other ways to do things. So the physical stuff has been a challenge, the mental well-being has been a challenge, the spiritual well-being has been an absolute fucking nightmare, I'll be honest with you. Now this is the first time since I had those experiences last week, this has been the first time in the last probably 26, 27 years where I have had absolutely nothing. Zero inspiration, absolutely. Everything just stopped dead in its tracks. I've had no posts. I have had no desire to help anybody. I have had no desire to even help myself any of the time. I've just been kind of like trying to mumble my way through it and try to like just take one step in front of the other. And sometimes it wasn't even that. It was just a case of just stopping and just allowing it to work its way through me. And to go from that, the experience of that enlightenment, where the grossness and the cleaning process, and then you become it all, and you get it all, and you experience universal consciousness, and you experience the field, and you become the field, and you become, that love, light, and grace that is God, and how that just changes everything. To go from that and then for everything just to stop completely has been something that's never happened before, and that's been something I'm really struggling with. It's been something that I'm trying to make sense of without trying to put too much time and effort into it, because that isn't going to work. I've tried, and that isn't working either. So that's something that I've just got to hope that it comes back. I've just got to know that it's going to come back. The next wave will definitely come, and I'll be able to go again, because it feels like I've completely lost my purpose over the last couple of weeks. the mission that I've been on. And it's hard to explain, but the desire that I wake up with every single day, it starts the night before. Best day ever starts the night before. What's my intentions? What's my reasons? What's my why? Where am I going? What am I doing with this work? To help people, to reconnect people back to the divine, to help people understand what meditation is and to experience meditation, to get on the natural path and to be happy and to be joyful and take responsibility for life, all that stuff. And that has completely stopped in a way that I never saw coming, and that's been hugely challenging. It's almost like okay, if I don't do this, what am I going to do? What am I going to do in my life? Because it's been every waking moment since I started on this path for the last certainly quarter of a century since it began for me. And that's something I'm struggling to deal with at the minute. It's something that I'm trying to make sense of by not trying to make sense of it and just allowing it to make its way through me. The spiritual journey, the spiritual work, within the work within the vortex and the program. It's when I've been so specific and so certain as to how it goes together, and no matter who comes my way or who comes across it, when you always have the answer. And the results that I get with people and that this work gets with people, it never misses, so to feel that that's not there just now, even the desire to go and help people has completely gone, which is really, really interesting. It's been fascinating to watch, and it's been a wee bit worrying if I'm honest. But at the same time, again, it's the will of God. That's where I'm at just now, surrendering to the will of the divine and the clearing process. And really, when I'm looking at it honestly, the way that I've been doing it for the longest time now isn't really serving me. It's not working for me. It's taking too much of me. It's making me sick. The evidence is that I keep getting sick, and the burnouts that I had last year and the physical disease that I've got going on within my body, it's not really working for me. So possibly the age and stage that I'm at and the bit that I'm getting into, I need to do it a different way. I need to find a different way of doing it. So maybe that's why I'm hoping the divine is stepping in. I'm hoping Babaji's stepping in and going, right, okay, we just need to take one step back and take stock and then find a different way of doing it that I can serve more and in a different way for a longer period of time, because the way that I'm doing it, because up to this point I've been trying to do it for everybody, and that doesn't work. It really doesn't. I know that, and I've always known that. Even trying to give it to people and trying to help people and help them find their way and always being there for them and always like trying to prop people up, but it doesn't really work. People, it's one of these things that, especially with this work, is very specific and it attracts a very specific type of person at a specific time of their journey. So for me to always want to with the best intentions to help people, obviously it isn't working, and that's something that needs to change, and it is changing. But it's been very, very difficult. The physical stuff, the mental stuff, but the spiritual stuff has been a nightmare. That's something I've never had before, where everything has just completely stopped. And that takes you on to the human experience. The human beingness and what I'm actually doing and what we are doing in this journey. The human experience is darkness and light. We are blessed with the ego. We wouldn't be able to go through this experience without the human ego. And that's something you forget, especially when you've experienced the highs and the light, of the divine. A lot of the time you would just like to be there, and that's not how it's meant to be. And sometimes I forget that. You're not meant to be on it all the time. It's like this period of disconnection is actually a really good thing for me, because when it's about the connection all the time, you're always in the flow and you're always flying and you're always like in spirit and inspired, and that's not how it's meant to be. And one of the men that I listened to, one of my teachers, a long time ago, he said to me that you need to be careful because spirit will have you working for it 24/7. And it can make you sick when a lot of the great healers and the great yogis, and you need to look at, there's so many of them that they all get sick because of the way they do it, and I've always been aware of that, how I don't want to get sick or certainly be detrimental to myself when I'm trying to help other people. I want to help as many people as possible, but at the same time, it's like this is taken away from me now. This is making me not well. So at that point, the human experience, honouring my own human journey and the things that I'm here to get for myself on the lower levels as well as the higher stuff as well. The spiritual experience is, that's absolutely part of it as well. In a human body, in a human form, and at the same time there's a spiritual experience going on at the same time, which makes it really tricky. But it's how you really kind of find the balance. It's how you find the ability to navigate your way and do both at the same time. And that's where this work, that's where it is like a disclaimer, because it isn't all rainbows and unicorns. It's no easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Ignorance is bliss was almost what this was going to be called. And I think to that as well, I think a lot about the people that are in ignorance, the people that don't know. And the people just go through their life chasing money and chasing their next holiday and sitting in the booze or getting pushed, and every time you see them they're standing with the fucking pints in the bar, and they look as happy as fuck. They really do. They look as if they've, you know, a lot of them from outside you would think they've cracked it, but then you look at them and you think they've got absolutely nothing. You know, they have no awareness, they have no understanding of, you know, what's going on within the world. They're in this bubble of just going to work and making money and, you know, getting bevied at the weekend or whatever they're up to and looking forward to their next holiday. And it's just like a constant state of distraction for them, you know. So that level of ignorance, it's difficult as well when you see through the veil and you step into a different way of living and being, how you can't go back there anymore. And in fact, you really start to resent, you know, those that are living in that way. The numbing effects of daily awareness is a big challenge. You know, the circus and the zoo and the clowns that are in it, and you see how they distract themselves and you see how they make their way through it, and it's hugely challenging. And it's unfortunately, you know, possibly for me now where I'm at, I can't go back. And for those that get on about this work, you know, that disclaimer of when you step through the gates, when you step through the door of awareness, and you stand in a new place and you see the world in a different way, and nothing makes sense anymore, you know, and that can be very tricky. That can't be easy. That's where the importance of the community is, you know, it's absolutely paramount, you know, how we get through this together. People are into similar work and a similar level of understanding. It's hugely important, you know. So the human experience, the spiritual experience, for me, trying to do both, the will of God, allowing it to come through me, waiting for the next wave to come. Constant expansion is what it's all about. Be careful what you ask for. You know, that's what I'm learning just now, because this has been a really bumpy period for me. But having faith as well, you know, surrendering to the will of God and having faith that everyone's going to be okay. That's all I can really do at this point. The meditations, I got up this morning, the back of 3 for meditation, and nothing happened. I've got up yesterday morning, had an incredible experience. So it's very much, it's ebbing and flowing just now. It's very different every single time I shut my eyes. It's the only thing I'm really finding that's giving me relief. And the question is, what do you do? What do you need to do? When you're in this place where you know where you'd like to be, and this is something that I teach almost every single day. I meet people, and there's like 2 bits. I call it, it's like a capital Y, and up here is shite. It's like really bad and you don't want to be here and life's terrible, and over this side here you've got this big kind of chasm here, and over this side here, the other side of the Y, is where you would like to be, and it's how you get from there to there. And I teach this all the time, and it's and especially if you've felt good in the past, can be more difficult when you've felt good or you've been in this flow state of inspiration and you've got a taste of this work. When you really get it and you're flying, which can last for the first time months at a time. I've saw people come in for one session and they're absolutely flying for months, and then they come off it again and end up back up here, and because I've experienced this side here, they want to get back to it. And there's nothing really for you to do. You can't get from there to there. It's too big to jump, especially when you're feeling bad and you're thinking bad, and your physical experience is not the way that I'd like to be, and you're feeling disconnected the way that I am just now. You know, and this is where I've just got to listen to the stuff that I teach other people. This is a time for stopping and stopping trying to get there. The best way to get up the other side there is to basically like give up everything, and you allow yourself to kind of slide back down this side of the Y by not doing anything, by just being easy. This morning I had a sauna and an ice bath because I felt like it, because I had the ability to go and do it this morning. I did the time, and I had the chi, I had the energy, the life force to go, and I could actually do a wee bit of sauna. Now after it I'm feeling a wee bit dehydrated. It was in nice as well, and that kind of probably gave my immune system a wee bit of a boost. So again, I'm still all over the place, but at the time it felt right, so I'm just being easy with myself. I'm not trying to get there. I'm still doing the work. I'm still doing my best every single day. I remember Jim Rohn, they asked Babe Ruth, the old baseball player back in the day, when he was on a dry slump, and they say, what do you do? Like, what do you do when it dries up and you stop getting the hits? And he says, the only thing you can do is just to keep swinging. Just keep fucking swinging. And it's kind of like that just now. Not that I'm swinging, but the bat's ready to go, and I'm very much kind of tiptoeing my way through it. Waiting for the next wave to come. That's what it's about for me. Really at a point now where, as bad as I've been feeling, with no distractions and nothing, I'm doing nothing except being right in the pocket, like staying in it and feeling like shite, and meditating my way through it, and being okay the fact that I feel terrible physically, that I feel terrible emotionally, that my mental health is shot to pieces, that, you know, my spiritual work all the last 25 years that I've been doing has completely dried up. There's nothing left. I have no inspiration. I'm just staying in it. I'm just being in it and allowing it to wash through me. And hopefully, with faith and the will of God and surrendering to it, and the knowledge of the power that's in this work, and seeing what it does for people, that it will come again. It needs to come again. There's no other way. I just need to be patient and allow it to happen when it does, when it comes. I'm taking my medicine and very much like taking notes as I'm going, in terms of fuel for the fire. There are some very specific changes that I need to make. And this pain and suffering that I've been through, that's the fuel for my fire when I come out the other side of this, and how I change things going forward, so that I can start to get it for myself as well, so that I can start to enjoy my life. I give my whole life away. All I do is give myself away with this work, and that's obviously doesn't work in so many different ways, so it's probably time for me to do it in a different way, and knowing that it will come again, and to get excited for the next wave. That's what it's all about, so God bless the contrast. It's not for the faint of heart, having the awareness to be in the pocket, the journey, the spiritual journey, this work. It's fantastic. It's incredible when you're in it and you're flying, you're experiencing the light, and I wouldn't change a bit of what I had with that meditation. If you'd have said to me that I get that 4-hour meditation and what I got in the cleaning process, I would have signed up for it in a second. Of course I would have. The fact I've had 2 weeks of backside it, when my body's trying to recalibrate and trying to find its way back to some sort of way of operating in this world, that's maybe just the price that I need to pay, So as always, I'm documenting where I am. I'm sharing the stuff that I'm going through, so that I can help people. So when it does happen to you, if you do go through it and you take this journey on, this intentional way of living and being, and you come from the spiritual perspective, and you the desire to know the divine, and to know the true power and the essence of all that you are, then for me, I'm just sharing what I'm doing, and with the intention to help people that are making their way through it behind me. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much for tuning in again. Hopefully we're back next week. Hopefully we're on the bounce, and everything's on the up and up. Love and light. Take it easy. God bless. See you soon, and bye for now.